There we go. All right. All right, everybody. What's up, family? Today we're going to do this book review, and this one's called God Don't Like Ugly. Now, I'm sure a lot of y'all heard that phrase before. It's a very common thing we heard when we hear and see things where people say, God don't like ugly. Although we heard that before, we want to see if you guys can identify what this book is about as we give you our personal review from our perspective. You want to start it out what it's about?
Well, I just gotta say,
From the
I
beginning.
give a 5-star on this book.
Yes.
I'm not gonna tell you the ending because it's so much that we could talk about this book. But I just want to first say it was about a little girl. It was a family. It was about a mother. Her name is
Mud Deer.
Mud Deer. Yeah.
And
No,
her
but
daughter,
her name
Annette.
is Good. His real name is Good.
Okay.
And her daughter is Annette.
Annette.
Had a husband, constantly working too much, day and night. I just didn't like the point about where
And one day he was just acting
just
real
got
suspicious, and it turns out he kept looking out the window. This is like in the early 60s, I believe, 1960s. Turns out, to make a long story short, he found a white woman, and he left his black woman and the child, just left them. And Annette used to look up to her father like he's the biggest, greatest thing in the world. And just like that, he just left them. And when he left them, everything that they had just crumbled. So now the mother had to work long nights, cleaning other people's houses, and under such ridiculous conditions that sometimes seem inhumane. Such as, I remember one guy, she was cleaning the house, and she dealt with a lot of racial stuff. One guy, she was cleaning the guy's house, if you remember. He told the mother she could come in the house, but he said to her, your daughter got to sleep in the backyard in the doghouse.
Yeah.
And it was like, what the heck? But they had nowhere to go, no money or nothing. And Annette slept in the doghouse. But Annette, they used to just feed her all the time. Anytime she complained, cry or something, they would just stuff food in her mouth. So Annette wound up being this real chubby, fat girl. She was only about 6 years old at the time. And when he had her sleep in the doghouse, that one night she snuck in the house. And she's going through the refrigerator. And all of a sudden, as she's going through the refrigerator, she heard some noise from the back room. And when she went to the back room, all she heard was the white guy saying, hurry up, girl, I ain't got all day. And then she heard her mother's voice. And her mother's voice said, hurry up, Mr. Jones, because my jaw is hurting. You got to hurry up. And when she peeked in, she seen her mother on her knees in between this naked white man's legs. She didn't know what she was seeing. Right. She didn't know what was going on. And it always made her wonder, what the heck was going on?
But it's such a very sad case because of the situation she had to go through, because her husband left her. Instead of being a man that he should be, and say to himself, you know, let me be with my woman, my wife, and my daughter to try to work things out and sacrifice.
I agree,
but he
because
decided that he just left, up and left. It was very hard for her.
So like we say, why is the book called God Don't Like Ugly? Because I agree with you on that sense, because you go, so he left his daughter and his wife to be with a white woman because he think the grass is greener on the other side. But and remember, this is in the 60s, 1960s. That man, I'm pretty sure, gonna find out God don't like ugly. You think life gonna be sweeter? Watch how much harder he have it trying to have a normal life with this white woman, where white society is not going to accept his butt. So
still Jim Crow, still heavy into Jim Crow.
She right around that time.
By the way, we got some companies in the background, and we want to thank you for being.
No, that's wonderful. We got a teacher back here, so we give her perspective.
Yes. You gotta remember that in the '60s, it's still the height of Jim Crow.
Yes,
so
she's right.
A biracial relationship was not thought of.
Taboo.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally taboo.
Exactly. And it was very hard already for a family, for a couple to be able to be out there and survive.
Yeah.
So you imagine this man just left out of nowhere, especially with this white woman.
Yeah.
And now it's like was about her and her daughter.
Yeah, it
like
made her kind of bitter a little bit too.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I think that's,
yeah, of course.
can you blame her?
So now, remember, now they move from, the mother's going any and everywhere she could find work, cleaning houses for white people, or white people she think is rich, or whatever the case. under such circumstances that it's like, come on, you putting yourself through all kind of nonsense. But then she meets this one lady called Scary Mary.
Scary Mary.
She didn't know Scary Mary was a madam.
Mm-hmm.
And she ran a prostitute ring.
Yeah.
She said, y'all could come stay with me. And when they
Which
come
it
stay
was
with
the
her,
worst
next thing you
decision.
know, she see all these men coming in and out of the house. And before you know it, she got Annette mother turning tricks for her.
Yeah.
Exactly. But another thing, while she was going to work and doing what she had to do as a woman and as a mother to be able to support her daughter she was only what, 7
Oh,
years
wait,
old?
before you jump in the head.
No, but she since she's an early age, she was forced to be by herself at the house.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm jumping
No.
in. So,
And then this is where this man comes.
no, before I get to that. So they jumping back and forth, and Scary Mary, who is a madam, she gets locked up. They got to move out of the house that Scary Mary let them stay in.
Right.
But then when Scary Mary gets out, she moves to a whole nother state because Ohio.
Oh yeah.
They was in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh,
So
yeah,
then
yeah,
when she gets out, she moves to Ohio and she sends them letters and money constantly trying to find out where they're at. She said, y'all can come down here and stay with me. And sure enough, they packed up all their stuff and they go to Ohio. The day that they get in Ohio, Scary Mary gets locked up. They down there, as the old saying would say, a lot of our parents said, ain't got a pot to piss in
pot to
or a
piss
window
in.
to throw it out of.
Yeah.
And you came down here because Scary Mary told you to get down, and you get down and you got nothing. But oh and behold, Scary Mary gets out. She introduces Mud Dear, Mrs. Good, to this guy named Mr. Boatwright.
Right.
And she said, I got an apartment for you guys. And Mr. Boatwright, he's from the church. He's going to help pay the rent.
Oh, Lord.
And
Mr. Holy.
yeah, he's a man of God.
Yes, he is.
So
Yes,
next
he
you know,
is.
Mr. Boatwright, the first day he meets Annette, which she's 6 or 7.
She's 7.
7 years old. Even Annette herself, she said when she seen Mr. Boatwright on that day when she came home from school, she said the way that he looked at her was like she was a steak and he wanted to eat her.
Wow.
And she said, it was something about that guy I didn't feel comfortable about. And Mud Dear said, she said, Mom, is this going to be our new daddy? My new daddy? She said, no, this is Mr. Boatwright. And then Annette said, are you and him going to have a relationship and y'all going to get married? She said, no, he's a man of God. And listen, while I'm at work, he going to be staying here.
Yes.
You are to listen to everything he tell you, and you better do everything he tell you to do.
God.
And
Biggest mistake.
Mr. Boatwright, you
Biggest
have my
mistake.
permission, she said to Mr. Boatwright, you have my permission to whoop her tail if she ever get out of line or sass you. You understand? And it's like you said, biggest mistake. I never like that when parents go, do everything this man tells you to do and say, like them priests. See how them priests was raping all these little boys? And what a lot of the parents used to say, do everything that this priest tell you to do. And now they afraid to tell what is really going on.
Right, because if mama trusts you, I got to trust you.
Yep.
You know, mama's word is law.
Yes.
You
Yes,
know, so we
exactly.
you
I like
know,
that.
in our efforts to please mom,
Uh-huh.
because we see mama going out working hard.
Yes.
You know, we're not gonna tell her anything that will disappoint us.
Yes.
And in the black community, that secret keeping,
Yes.
I'm getting ahead too.
No,
That
you're
kind
great.
of secret keeping
Yes.
is really what destroys us as a unit.
Now I love what she said. You know why? Because there is a lot of secrets in the black community where it's like, look, we don't need to talk about that. We don't, look,
Right.
y'all not
You
that.
sweep it
And it's
under the
like
carpet.
people get hurt by holding that pride and them secrets in, and it's going to come out. It's going to come out many years later. And it's going to hurt even more because you never dealt with it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Never dealt with it.
Yeah.
But the whole thing also is that the mother, she felt forced to just leave a stranger man with her little daughter
Yeah.
because she had other responsibilities.
She had
knew
no
that
alternative.
exactly.
Yes.
Gosh.
Exactly.
And it's
So-
not
Gosh.
because she was making foolish decisions. It's because she was forced to do what she had to do to support her,
See?
to support her daughter.
And I hated that. You know how I feel about that. I said, yo, how you gonna tell your daughter do everything he say? You better listen to everything he say. And Mr. Boatwright, you could whoop her tail if she ever get out of line or sass you. You right? Like our teacher here, our scholar here.
Yeah.
Like she says, that secret stuff you keeping, and this gonna come back and bite you. So to move ahead, next thing you know, when she was about 7, if I'm not mistaken.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah. one night, as always, Mr. Boatwright will be peeping in her keyhole of her bedroom, always looking at her. And on one night, he just went in her room, and he just got on her bed. He was like, "Come here, girl. You know you I see how you be looking at me. You've been trying to tease me all the time." And she's a 7-year-old. She's like, "What are you talking about?" She really was clueless. She's like, and he was like, "Yeah, girl, you've been teasing me. You know you want this." And she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Take your clothes off." And she's like, "Mr. Bosa, what are you doing?" He said, "Look, you better not sass me." See, words from her mother. You better not sass me, girl. And next thing you know, she was naked, and he entered her, and she
Did
felt the pain.
Everything that a man is just an abuse.
Yeah, she felt the pain like she said she never felt before.
And then he threatened her.
Yeah, then he pulled a gun out.
Say anything.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
They put the fear of, quote, God in them.
Yes.
And so they won't tell.
There you go.
They won't tell. That's why molestation goes so untreated.
Yes.
Because we're afraid of what will happen if we tell.
Exactly.
And see, he also had that gun.
He had a gun.
He said, "Listen, if you ever tell your mother, I'm gonna kill you and her."
But you know what's even more messed up? That was a fake gun.
But she didn't find it out until she became much older. All along, it was a fake
he
gun.
started watching her. You know, he was creepy anyway.
Yes.
You know, because he was peering through the window,
yes.
through the keyholes and all of that.
Yes.
Just watching this child.
A child. Yes. And she didn't understand. Even afterwards, she said, I know. I love the ring. She said she ran to the bathroom afterwards, bleeding, hurt, mentally and physically, and she didn't understand, why would this man do this to me? He's supposed to be a man of God. Why would he do this to me? And I got to tell my mother, but he said if I tell my mother, he's gonna kill us. So she didn't tell her mother.
She never did say anything.
And then afterwards, he gave her a nickel. I remember this in the 60s. A nickel ain't nothing now. A nickel's a lot of money.
Right.
So he's like, you can buy some candy with this. And this went on week after week, whenever he felt like it. And she just always begged him not to do it, but he continued to do this to her for years. Now, the problem I had with that is that, why didn't you say something at some point that you grow some courage? She never spoke up, never told the cops, never told her mother, never told her friends.
She was afraid.
Right. But that's what I was telling him. It's sometimes the mentality is so easier said than done. You could say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that." You have everything planned, but when it comes to the moment, you are so afraid because it's all mental.
How about this part?
And you remember though, she was only 7 when it started. So as a child, my mind, in my mind, what he says, he's gonna do. You know what I'm saying? What he said, if he says he's gonna kill my mom, he's gonna kill my mom.
Now this went on for years. Now let's say it's like 7 years later. This is still going on. Now she's like 14. One day the mother comes home from her long day of work, and she is always so exhausted that Annette looking at her like, "Man, I don't want no life like my mother. All she do is clean, and work hard and come home and be dog tired." And when she came home this day, it was another day that Mr. Boatwright had raped her. But when she goes to her daughter's room, she's knocking on the door. She said, "Girl, why you got this door locked? Open up this girl door. What is this door locked for?" And when she finally opens up the door, she goes, What you got this door locked for, girl? You crazy? You don't be locking no doors around here. Mr. Boatwright told me that you've been sassing him. So listen, girl, don't keep this door locked no more. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell Mr. Boatwright to take the locks off the door. Now, this where me and you went at it, because I said, this mother is so freaking clueless.
But
you mean to tell me?
Can I interject for one thing?
Go ahead.
Because you said a key word to me. You said he kept raping her. A lot of times we don't even use that word.
Yes.
We say molest, but you're raping this girl.
It's rape. Yes.
You're raping her at 7. Starting off at 7. You know, we try to use that word molestation, but you're raping this child.
Exactly.
Right.
And even what he was doing was raping her. He would give her a nickel, sometimes a dime, give her money to go to the movies. It seemed as if she was looking forward to getting 50 cents or $1 to go to the movie theater. Whereas she wasn't, even though she didn't like it, it was as if she was accepting it. And that's when I said to you, you know what that's called? Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
Now what Stockholm syndrome is when a victim falls in love with their abuser.
With the abuser.
And because she now was concerned about Mr. Boatwright, because he had one leg, a peg leg. She was concerned about his health. If he got sick, she was like, "Oh, I gotta check
that
on
was
Mr.
good.
Boatwright."
That's
And we
kinda
was like,
messed
"What
up.
the heck? This
Why
man is
she
raping
even-
you, and you concerned about his health care? Why?" But I was upset with the mother because I said, "You mean to tell me you come home from work and your daughter is in her bedroom with the door locked? Mr. Boatwright is in the living room, and you don't pick up on signs? You also told your daughter." You got to do everything he tell you to do and say you better not sass him. You don't pick up on signs something ain't right. Every other day she would come home and go, "Girl, what's wrong with you? You've been acting strange lately." It made me so mad at the mother, like, you clueless. And that's when I said to you, I said, see, that's probably got something to do with why her man left her. Because he probably clearly gave her signs, you ain't doing the stuff you used to do when we first got together, and he found somebody else. I ain't saying it's right.
No,
I'm just saying.
No, but
All right, go ahead.
that's
I want to
just-
hear it.
no, but
I want to
that's-
hear it.
No, but that's an excuse that the man would use. The thing is that if he was a real man,
I agree.
he would actually sit down with her and tell her, "Listen, babe, this is what you're doing wrong. We need to work this together. You're my wife and I'm your husband. We are supposed to work together. Just
Yes.
don't get up and leave her and abandon her, especially the daughter."
I agree. She just was
Yeah,
clueless.
So
Yeah, but even that, I'm sorry, Pam.
That's
Just one
okay.
second.
She getting
And
upset.
even that, the mother, I was kind of disgusted and bothered with her because it's like sometimes a person gets so much hooked up on the job and constantly
True.
working, but forget about their personal life.
I agree.
And that's what kind of really disgusts me with her.
I agree.
You got your daughter here. You never once sit down and have a real conversation with your daughter.
She put so much
And-
trust in
That's
this
So the
woman.
key
But-
word,
Yeah.
the key word, Mr. McCray, communication.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Communication.
Yes.
Talk
That's-
with your daughter.
Not-
Talk with
it was
that
not
man
happening.
with before he left.
Yes.
You all would have sat down and had some in-depth conversations.
Yes.
You know, before it got to the point where he had to leave.
Talking about the husband.
Or wanted to leave you.
Talk to
if
Mr.
you all would have
Boatwright.
communicated, talk with Mr. Boatwright, talk with your daughter. See,
None of that was happening.
communication is so vital.
Yes.
Exactly.
That could
But,
resolve a lot of stuff. That
Yeah.
communication.
But isn't it back in the days it was a point, it was a thing where you trusted more.
I think
Oh,
so.
yeah.
It was a lot
even
more.
your
Yeah, you're right.
neighborhoods would actually raise your kids.
Yeah, like they said,
So
what
maybe
they used
that's
to
the
say, a
mentality.
village raised
Yeah,
a child
you
back
trusted
then.
the village.
Now ain't
but
not
the
no
village
more.
were pedophiles. Some of
Yeah.
the
Some of
some of the village were pedophiles.
She right. She right. Mr. Boatwright was one of them.
Right, and
Yeah.
he was a part of her village.
Yeah.
But
Now-
what I don't understand, Papito, I'm sorry, but what I don't understand is that you got this stranger coming in the house.
Right.
You're working all these hours.
And you don't
I'm
pick
sorry-
up on these clues.
Yeah, and you're
And the
not picking up
communication,
in the
that's it.
communication. That's the only thing that I'm really disgusted by her. But at the same time, she's such in a desperate situation, and she's doing it all by herself. I'm not making excuses for
Yeah,
her, but at the same
yeah.
time, it's like, dang, it's like you got a daughter. You
Yeah.
need to have
True.
just take care of your personal life.
Okay.
Instead
Now,
of
how about this? Now I gotta mention this. Now I'm gonna go back. Every now and then I might have to do that. There was a part also when she was let's go back when she was, let's say 8 or 9, right? They was at a church, and one of the girls had died. And when the girl had died, everybody in the church was whispering and saying stuff. But Annette heard what they had said, and they were saying, and she heard stuff like this: "That's such a doggone shame that that pretty light-skinned girl died. It should have been Annette and her black ass." So Annette always looked at herself as she was ugly because she always heard stuff like this. Even when she seen, remember that old white lady? There was another case where this old white lady seen her, and Annette had these long ponytails, and the white lady, the old white lady, she said, "Oh my gosh, you got such lovely, pretty hair. You're a cute little nigger frog." And Annette said to herself, she said, "I don't know if that was a compliment or an insult." Because she said, "I'm a cute nigger frog." But we all know frogs are not pretty. They're ugly. And the people at the church said it would have been better if Annette would have died opposed to that light-skinned girl, as if light-skinned was better.
Because colorism was a whole nother thing back then
Yes.
too, though. And take it from me,
Mhm.
who's a dark-skinned girl.
Yes.
And if I didn't have relatives who sold into me all the time about you're beautiful,
Thank you.
you're beautiful, you're beautiful.
You need
you're
to hear that.
beautiful, it built my self-esteem. So when people said to me, "Oh, with your old ugly black
It bounced
self,"
off you.
you
It
know,
mean
with
nothing.
your old ugly black self, Oh well.
Don't mean nothing to you.
You know.
See,
because-
you needed more of that for a lot of these
Yeah.
girls that didn't get that.
But for Annette didn't have those people feeding into her.
Yes.
So she thought
She-
it took away her
stuck.
self-esteem.
It did.
Right.
It
And
did.
that's why I believe that's why the book is called
Thank
God
you.
Don't Like Ugly.
I was getting ready to ask you that. So why is the book called God Don't Like Ugly?
Because people like Annette's daddy,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Boatwright.
Okay. See
People
now,
like that.
I like
take
that.
as like
and
what-
now we're gonna use like we said. So why, like she said, so that's why she say the book is called God Don't Like Ugly. Now I think I used this word before, but as always, I give y'all a word of the day. So the word of the day is this one gonna be one we use. It's gonna be called axiom. Now axiom is just AXIOM. It just means an old saying. You know, like you heard old sayings like
Yeah.
you could take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. You know, old sayings.
What
So
goes around comes around.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
old sayings. Now I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
What was the point of me
But the
saying?
reason
Oh,
is-
so why is it called God Don't Like Ugly? Because remember there was another part now where Annette had said to her mother, they finally had a small conversation. It wasn't it was a healthy one. Let's just put it that way. She said, Mom, I don't understand. I know me and you look very much alike. It's just I'm chubby and I'm black. And she said, what are you talking about? And her mother said, you are beautiful. She said, I don't think so. I know I'm ugly, Mom. And she mentioned about what the white lady said
Right.
about her. She mentioned what they said to her in the church. And then this is why I think it's called God Don't Like Ugly. So then she said to her mother, she said, I mean, I always was told that I was ugly. And I know that God don't like ugly. So I know he must not like me. Because
That was
all the bad
sad,
stuff that
though.
happened to me.
yeah,
Yeah, that was sad. Like, wow. Like you said, no esteem was built up in her. So therefore, she started to take on that characteristic of that negative
Right.
characteristic and believed all the nonsense.
Yeah, but the point is that's the only thing that really gets me with her mother, and you got a lot of family like that. They so devoted with the responsibility from the outside,
Yeah.
but don't ever check to see the personal life. Is sometimes they're losing that because they don't sit back and they say, you know what, let me have a family gathering. We'd be able to
Yeah.
sit down and talk and say, because you never know what the family is going through.
True.
But we're so busy focusing on the outside instead
Yes.
of the inside.
Well,
And that's the only thing why.
But a lot of it was survival, though.
yes.
You know,
True.
it.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but when Mama has worked 10, 12 hours,
Every day.
you know, it's hard. And you know you got to get up and do it again. You know, you're tired, and that's no excuse. That's no excuse. But I see, and especially in that era, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
In that era, I don't know if at that time I would have done it too. You see what I'm saying? I'm a talker, as y'all can already tell.
Like you speaking as if you're her mother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if, because I've never had to work my fingers to the bones. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But if I had, would I have had the time or the strength? Because as soon as you get home,
You're
you got to do
dog-tired.
dinner,
Exhausted.
you got to do all of that, and then before you know it, it's time to get up and do it again.
Yes.
So it's a lot of stuff that you do that does go unnoticed.
You're blind. You got blind. You don't realize you got blinders on.
Yeah. But that's when you do have to take the time and say, hey, I ain't spend no time with my baby. Let me, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I guess it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. And that came much later because finally now she's in high school.
Right.
And this is still going on. The rape is still going on. She's
Right.
dealing with so much depression and everything. And she meets a good friend named Rhoda. Rhoda is dark-skinned just like her. Rhoda is gorgeous. She is beautiful. She has long,
model.
beautiful hair. Everybody looks at Rhoda and say, wow, she is so beautiful. But everybody's afraid of Rhoda because she has a violent brother and her other brother got killed by the cops. And,
Plus
right?
her father works with dead.
Yeah, her father works in the mortuary.
Mortuary,
So
yeah.
all those things put together, they afraid of Rhoda. But Rhoda befriends her, and the moment Annette sees her, it was like it was like that. It was like a thing. I remember Jamie Foxx said this about Prince. He said, "Man, I remember the first time I seen Prince. I was gay for about 5 minutes."
But you know,
He said he was so good looking, I was gay for about 5 seconds. I
but
couldn't
you know
believe
what
it.
it puts me in the mind of The Color Purple with Celie and Suge Avery.
That's a good example. Good analogy. Good
It
comparison.
put me in the mind of Celie because you
Yes.
know Celie had been just abused.
Man,
and then here comes Suge Avery.
I never thought about that. That's a damn
into her
great
and says,
comparison.
"You're beautiful, blah 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 blah." But she really falls in love with the two. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? It kind of puts me in the mind of that.
Remember, this is Pam. Our
I
friend,
swear,
and
now
Marvin.
you making me
Thank you.
think she got this story from the movie. Because remember, she was being raped all that time. She got her good friend.
Come on now.
Yo, did the book come out first or did Color Purple?
Well, you know that was last. Color Purple was first.
First.
Yeah.
Why? I never thought of that.
It's so parallel.
It is.
Right.
Never thought of that. That's a good one.
Okay, but see, that's the thing. It's different. But like when it was back in the days.
Right.
But you're still a mom. I mean, it's kind of tough to try to downgrade the mother, but at the same time, when you find out things a lot years later,
Yeah.
that will kill the mother because I
Yeah.
said, wait a minute.
It
All I had
will.
to do is just stop. Just
Yeah.
stop for a minute and say, what have I done? What wasn't I thinking? Why I couldn't care for my daughter for a little bit? At least my husband, which is the father of my child, left and abandoned. But this is almost doing the same thing. I have abandoned my daughter.
See, I kept saying
And
she's
then you
missing
can-
so many clues right in front of her
Yeah,
face.
she did. But and then the daughter could also harbor some resentment
True.
to mom. You know what I'm saying?
Mom
But
and
then-
the father. Because a lot of girls, when they're
Yeah.
missing that father, remember, she looked at right away the first time she met, she said, he's going to be my new daddy.
Yeah.
It's like she
Yeah.
missing that father
That's
figure. So therefore, she's allowing this in such a Stockholm syndrome type of way, which is crazy.
Right.
Because she was concerned about Boatwright even though he was raping her. But anyway, to move on. Rhoda befriends her so much so they get so tight.
Yeah.
She's over at Rhoda's house a lot. Rhoda come to her house. Rhoda is constantly telling her how beautiful she is. She's never heard that before. And it's coming from a girl who she looks at as she's beautiful. So much so like that Jamie Foxx thing. She was like, I think I'm going to be a lesbian because she's so beautiful. She didn't mind being
But
with
she
Rhoda.
started not to Annette, which is the daughter we're talking about. Annette
Yeah.
didn't like men. at
All because of what Boatwright said.
Right.
because of what Boatwright did and said.
But then then the other girl came into the play. Scary Mary had adopted another girl. Her name was Florence. And Florence wound up being close to Annette. But Rhoda didn't like Florence. So Florence would always
Yeah,
leave.
she
She was
was
half
different.
blind.
Yeah.
But next thing you know, Florence told Annette that what makes her a little bit different. And she's like, what do you mean different? She said, my last adopted family, they were great people, but unfortunately the guy died. But she said, she said, I've been raped, 4 times or something?
Yeah.
And Annette said, what? She said, about 4 different men or something like that.
Yeah.
And she said, my first adopted parents, the guy used to rape me all the time, but I told on him. I went to the police and I told what he did, and they came and they locked him up. And while Annette is hearing this, inside, it's waking up something.
Right.
Because she's telling her, she's like, but what she's like pausing over every sentence because she knows she want to say something, but she's too afraid to let her know. And then she tells her about the next family and the next family. She go, damn, she kept getting raped by men all the time by different families. And then Annette want to tell her, but she still hasn't. But she wound up telling Rhoda, because her and Rhoda are more closer. And the moment she tells Rhoda, Rhoda's like, we got to do something about
We
him.
gonna get him.
We're going to get him.
Yeah.
Rhoda want to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to go there?
That was the thing. But the thing is that Rhoda took care of Annette's situation because that was cruel.
It was.
And the thing is that now Annette, and that kind of goes back at Annette. I felt so disgusted by her in such a way.
Right.
Because she felt she's like,
Stockholm
Rhoda, why
syn-
would you
Stockholm
do that?
syndrome.
Yeah, but she was scared that she would get in trouble of what Rhoda did.
Yeah, because what happened when she finally told Rhoda, they was plotting constantly, and one day Rhoda comes over the house. No, now she's 17. This how long this is still going on. And she said, he ain't gonna rape me no more. I'm not a kid anymore. He ain't gonna keep doing this. And every now and then, now she's fighting him off. Or she makes sure he gets so drunk that he can't perform. And she said, I'm not gonna never let it happen again. And on the next night, he come in the room and he forced himself on her, and now she calls Rhoda.
With no protection.
Oh yeah, she gets pregnant.
Pregnant.
Then she wound up having to get an abortion, and the mother's like,
once again, Rhoda helped her out to.
And the mother's saying, "Who got you pregnant? Who did?" While Mr. Boatwright is right there, and the mother's like, "We're gonna get this boy. Who's this boy?" And the whole time she's looking at Mr. Boatwright. And once again, I'm saying the mother didn't pick up on them vibes.
Those little cues. Those little cues.
Man, she ain't picking up on nothing. So now Rhoda says, when she tells her it happened again, she says, "You know what? I'm coming over now." She said, "But what we gonna do?" She said, "Don't worry about it. You ain't gonna ever have to worry about this again." She said, "But what you mean?" She said, "I'm gonna take care of this." And she came over that night, and while they was in the room, she said, "Oh, I'm gonna go get some tea." And she said, "We're Mr. Boatwright," and he was in his bedroom. She went and got some tea, and while Annette was in the room, she said, "What's taking Rhoda so long?"
She was in the living room. Annette was in the living room.
Okay,
Rhoda went upstairs.
Yeah. She's like, "What's taking her so long?" And when Rhoda came back, she said, "Your problem's solved now." Yeah. She's like, "What you mean it's solved?" She said, "He ain't gonna never bother you again."
He's history.
Yeah. And she's like, "What did you do?" And she said, "He's dead." And she said, No, did you do it? What did you do? Once again, Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah.
I just took care of your problem, killed you, and you talking about, "What did you do? No, what did you do to us? You couldn't have." And she ran in the room to see Mr. Boatwright. And when she ran in there, she was looking at him, and Rhoda came in behind him. And then next you know, she's like shaking him, "Mr. Boatwright, Mr. Boatwright." And that's where I got pissed off again. I said, "Why is she so concerned about him?" And she's like, "Mr. Boatwright, Mr. Boatwright." Remember, Rhoda said he's dead. And then all of a sudden, he opened his eyes. And then that's when Annette said, "Rhoda, he's not dead." And Annette was like, "He's not dead, he just opened his eyes." And Rhoda was calm as calm could be. And she said, because remember, Rhoda family has a business. They work in the mortuary. She knows about dead bodies. As hysterical as Annette was, talking about, "He just opened his eyes, he's not dead." Rhoda said, "Trust me, he's dead." She said, "Remember where my family works. This is what happens with dead bodies. When they first die, you got to remember." She started explaining to Annette. She said, when a body dies, all their muscles relax. She said, "You wouldn't believe if I tell you, one day a dead body in our mortuary, it right on the slab, it's set up. It's a reflex." She said these things happen. Sometimes they pass gas, or sometimes they urinate, or feces come out. She said, so as far as him opening his eyes, trust me, he's dead as dead could be. That's the last reflex right there. I was like, because you was like, "Oh, but he is alive." I was like, "Nah, Rhoda know what she talking about."
Hey.
Rhoda know what she talking about.
Rhoda's an expert.
Yeah. I liked it, Rhoda.
Yeah.
I did. Let me tell you, in all of the series, and not to give any of them away, especially 1 and 2.
Yeah. How about also, now they still was dealing with Scary Mary, and then next thing you know, Rhoda aunt came into town, and Annette was asking about her aunt, and he was like, "What is it about? It's something weird about her. Like, and she even has a funny walk or something." And Rhoda told her about the aunt. She said, "Well, turns out that's my aunt." You remember that aunt name? Well, let's just make up a name, Josephine, right? She said, "That's my aunt Josephine. Yeah, she was a prostitute, just like all the Scary Mary women." No.
Was it Lola?
Lola.
Lola.
She said, "That's my aunt Lola. She was a high price prostitute." She said, "But the reason she acts a little weird or walks a little weird," she says, "because one day she stole some pimp's money. And when the pimp found out, he stuck a hot curling iron up her vagina and burnt her vagina." She said, so she could never have kids, and that's why she is the way she is now. But she's still a prostitute.
Yeah.
I was like, could you imagine that?
Well, she was, but for
you
a
burn
while,
a woman like that?
No, but for a while she was, but then she stopped. She went to a regular life. Remember, she used to be the prostitute. She was, after what happened with her, she still went on for a while, but then after that she decided that she's just gonna stay back, because she was having that conversation with Annette.
Yeah.
You know. But it's a great book.
Yes.
Oh, and throughout this whole story, we want to dedicate the story to the gentleman that said that he wanted you to do
Oh, I forgot the guy's name, but you know what I'm talking about. You see it because we read this years ago, but he had brought it back up because he seen some of my book collection. He said, "Yo, could you do one on this book?" And I said, "Sure, no problem."
So he kept the promise, and that he was going to do it.
Yes, exactly. So in closing, what would you say about the book? Why is this book called God Don't Like Ugly, and what could you say as far as in closing?
Well, spiritually, for people that really believe that God don't like ugly, is for people that do bad things around doing ugliness. You could put this as you know, what would be the word? This could be literally or figuratively, in many different ways.
Yeah.
That's how I look at the book.
Now, I would say in closing, yes, we are very familiar with when they say God don't like ugly. We heard this all the time when we was kids. It was always said in a type of way where it means you do something bad, you know it's going to happen. It's going to come back and get you later. You know, so you better watch what you do, type of thing. So, referring to God don't like ugly, just be careful what you do. Don't what's the saying they always say? What's done in the dark will come to the light or something like that.
Light, yeah.
So be mindful. You got what you do in life. Be righteous, other than deceitful, like Mr. Boatwright, because what happened to him was long overdue.
It's called karma is a bitch. Excuse my language. That's what it's called. It's
of course.
Another word for God, another phrase for God don't like ugly.
Yeah.
Karma is a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
That
know,
was long overdue. That should have been happening. Even worse. I say someone like him, killing him, that was too good for him. He needed to suffer and be tortured.
That's my thought. That's my thought.
You did this to a little 7-year-old girl. Imagine, there's a lot of Mr. Boatwrights in the world.
Continuously, you did it.
Yes.
You did it. And my problem with Mr. Boatwright is you had no regrets. You know, not that Mary Monroe told the story, his side of the story about the regrets, because I don't know whether he had them or not. But I'm thinking because you did it over and over and over and over again, you didn't have any regrets.
Ooh, I like that she said that. We almost forgot. Crucial point. After Rhoda had killed him, they went through his private stuff. He had a box under the bed and all that. And when they went through that, it was old newspaper clippings. It turns out Mr. Boatwright was in a robbery, and that's how he lost his leg. He got in some type of accident or whatever. And then he was in some type of home for boys. But it turns out he had been raped. He was a kid.
He was in a psychiatric hospital. He needed help.
He was raped as a boy and leg got. So it turns out to that other axiom, you know, old saying, when they say hurt people.
Hurt people.
There you go. See, I like when people can finish my sentence. Because it's true. Hurt people. Remember, he was raped and abused. So now he is an older man. What he's doing, same thing that happened to him, he's doing to Annette. Hurt people, hurt people.
And we see that so often, especially like, and I hate to call it out, but in the Catholic Church, where children who grew up and they were abused by the priest, they grow up to become priests, and then they do
a repeated cycle.
Yeah.
Hurt people, hurt people.
Yeah.
But
it's a curse.
Yeah, it is. But I really, really want to put it out there. Please, whether it's family, friends, or whatever, please take it. It's so much. Sometimes we find ourselves in a desperate situation. But please do not close your eyes and be blind about the whole thing. Take care of your innocence, the people that you love. Take care of them and be able to sit down and have conversations and don't forget about them, because in the long run, at the moment, you're not going to be able to, it's not going to hurt, but it's going to be more harder and more hurtful down the line when you realize the truth.
So what I know I said this already, but I'm going to say it one more time. My end closing also would be that body language. Pay attention to those clues, family.
Exactly.
This also touches on another one of our great videos. It's called Sex Talk with Family, because it's imperative. You'd be surprised, a lot of stuff that goes on in families, right up under your nose. So you got to be able to pick up on that body language. Sometimes a child is afraid to speak up, but their body language is telling, pay attention. Remember, you're their first teacher, Mom, and you're their best teacher. So I'm sure you could pick up on some things. You remember them things Grandma used to say? I knew something was wrong because my eye was twitching all day when I was at work. You know, those type of things. You know what I'm saying?
But we laughed at it but it's true.
Exactly. She knew something was in me. I could feel this is my baby. Something not right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most important, I know I said it and I'll say it again. I want to thank, on the background, we have Pam, right?
Scholar Pam and Marv over here.
Marvin, thanks for being part of the video. We
Yes.
appreciate
It's
you
been
guys.
wonderful.
And
Lesson learned.
you
Yes.
made us our.
And on that note,
Thank you.
peace. Subscribe, share, like, and comment. Peace.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, we